Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes and we're here as Southampton welcome Manchester United in today's early Premier League kickoff, with both teams fresh off their first wins in the league this season. Got loads to talk about, so make sure you get your comments in as well, however you're watching today, over Twitter, Facebook or YouTube. But joining me this week we have former Southampton captain Dean Hammond and NBC's lead soccer writer Joe Prince-Wright. Chaps, will come to you in just a moment, but we do have some early team news before that comes out in about 15 minutes. We know that Roman Perro has been training, so could potentially feature today, but Tino Livramento is still a long-term absentee. Joe, we're going to get into things first. Before we talk about the game, we're going to reflect on our 3-0 win over Cambridge in the League Cup. Shea Adams grabbing another 2 goals and Don Ballard also scoring on his debut for the club. Just how important was that to get 2 wins on the bounce?
Yeah, Steve, I think positive momentum is key at any point of the season. But if you look at sort of recent seasons, Saints have really built off the back of getting their first win of the campaign and then some good wins in the Cup as well. And they've done pretty well in Cup competitions in recent years. So it seems to always coincide with their best run of form in a season. And I think it's important, Dean will tell you this, that the entire squad is utilised and feeling happy and involved. And that builds a really positive atmosphere around the squad. So players like Lianco, Diallo, Jan Valery, Oriol Romeo, they're all key to the squad and they played a key role in this win. And then obviously you've got youngsters taking their chance brilliantly as well, with Payne and Ballard obviously impressing with their assist and goals. So, and for me, it was really nice to hear the positive comments from Cambridge's manager after that about the quality of play, the sharpness, about the pressing from Southampton, and about how his team learns so much from playing against Saints. So I think Ralph, as always, wants to take the cup games and cup competitions very seriously. And as a Saints fan, at the start of each season, I think the focus is pretty key. It's, okay, can we try and finish in the top 10? And can we have a good cup run? It sounds simplistic, but as a Saints supporter, that's what I look to do and hope for the team to do every season. And I think every Southampton fan would be happy with that. So great to get another win on the board and positive vibes flowing through the squad right now.
Yeah, definitely. Dean, Joe mentioned there about the youngsters that made appearances. We had Lewis Payne making his full debut, also Diamond Edwards getting his first run out in the red and white. How good is it to see youngsters get a chance and get off the mark as well?
It's brilliant, Steve, and it's what a club like Southampton is all about. Having that pathway for the younger players to come through into the first team, and it's great for the players to experience that first team environment in a competitive environment. You need that. It's the biggest part of your development. You can play in 23 games, you can train with the first team, but until you're actually put into that environment and you can feel the emotion of the game, the emotion of the preparation, being around senior players, learning off their attitude, their mentality, and seeing it in real life, it's huge for the younger players. And like Joe just said, that they've done brilliant. They look like they've come on, they've made an impact. What they will do by having those performances is they will build the trust in the manager. They will show the manager that they can offer something to the first team. So these experiences are invaluable for your development. And obviously as a player, it builds your confidence. It gives you that, I could do this. You know, I do have the ability to do it. I do have the mentality to do it. And you see the young boy scoring a goal there and what it means to him, what it would have meant to the fans as well, his teammates celebrating with him. It's brilliant. But it's the next part of your development. And also, you're playing against a League One team in Cambridge in front of a full house. These are experiences you can't get unless you're playing in the first team. So it's fantastic. And it's what a club like Southampton's been built on for generations. And it looks like there's some younger players coming through again, which is brilliant for the club.
Yeah, Ralph made a whole host of changes for that game, as we've addressed. A great result. But, Joe, today is a different beast with Manchester United coming here in the Premier League. Are you expecting any changes from Ralph today?
I think so, Steve, quite a few. I just want to also just congratulate such a young team. I mean, last time out was Saints' youngest ever starting lineup in Premier League history. So that just goes to show that the philosophy is very clear. The identity of this team right now is very, very clear. As a Saints fan, that was amazing to see. As Dean mentioned, lads coming through the academy, a lot of great young players being bought. And that's really exciting, I think, for this season. I think for today, we'll probably see that 4-3-3 system again that we saw at Leicester. but maybe with a few changes. I'm just kind of in two minds whether Ralph keeps the more defensive approach for the first 45 minutes to an hour and then keeps it tight, hopes to be in the game, and then brings on the likes of Aribo, Armstrong for the final 30 because that's been working so well. Or does he just go back to the 4-2-2-2, high pressing and go for it from the start? I'm not sure. I think Moussa Djenepo is going to stay at left back. I mean, it's likely, even with Romain Perraud back, he's back in training. I don't think he's fully fit right now. So Djenepo's been brilliant. So I'd guess he's going to stay at left back for today. And then the midfield trio would be Lavia, Ward-Prowse, and probably Elyounoussi for me. I think that'd be a good mixture there of defensive ability, a bit more creativity. And then up top, I probably would start with more experience and go with Che Adams being on fire up top, Joe Aribo and Stuart Armstrong. I think that gives you a good balance and a good blend of power, creativity, and that work rate as well. So I think Ralph's still figuring out the balance, Steve. There's new system, new players. And it's weird though, right? It almost seems Saints are playing with more freedom when they go behind in games we've seen in recent weeks. So I don't want that to be the case today, but if it ends up with a Saints win and them going behind early, then I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, hopefully Shea's working with a full ketchup bottle for this season. Dean, we did see an upturn in fortunes as well, with Ralph slightly changing to that 4-3-3 as Joe mentioned. How do you expect Saints to line up today?
I completely agree with Joe. It will be interesting, and it's a question we've been asked before every show and before every game so far this season. What shape will the manager implement? Because he does have those options. Whether last week against Leicester it was a 4-3-3, it was a 4-2-3-1. It really, really worked, especially when Southampton played with that freedom after going a goal down. So I think it will be interesting to see the approach. Will the manager go for it? You know, you look at Manchester United, they'll be full of confidence, they'll be on a high, but also it will be interesting to see if they did go behind against Southampton, how would they respond? Would that negativity come across again? Would they be disheartened again? So the manager may think, look, let's go from the start. Let's try and get ahead in this game. Let's press them. Let's try and put them under pressure. Let's capitalise on them being a little bit vulnerable in certain situations. But I think you'll see a couple of changes. I think Che Adams will come back into the team. You know, 4 goals in 2 games. He deserves to come back in, and he's been fantastic. And I think potentially you could put Stuart Armstrong in that middle three instead of Elyounoussi. Elyounoussi gives you that industrial work rate. He gives you that threat from a counter-attack, him getting into the box. But Stuart Armstrong can run with the ball and has that little bit more creativity. So I think the biggest question mark is the shape, and probably who's going to play in that number 10 sort of role, or that added midfield player in midfield. I think that will be the biggest question mark. But I'm looking forward to this, and it's always about the approach of Southampton. Will they try and frustrate Manchester United and stay in the game, like Joe said, and then bring the players on to impact the game and try and win it? Or will they go from the start and try and get in front and then see what Manchester United are really made for? So looking forward to this.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we addressed, Southampton did come from behind last weekend to beat Leicester 2-1 at the King Power, thanks to a brace from Che Adams. So it's only right that we have a look at the highlights.
Very good afternoon, everybody, from the King Power Stadium. Here's Elyounoussi got on the ball. He looks to hit it into space, and the flag stayed down. Mara's racing into the box, and Martin's trying to get back, but he scores! And the flag now goes up, and I was looking at the lines when I thought it might. He finished that with a plum. Now given away by Southampton, and here's Harvey Barnes attacking the penalty. He's in the box, it goes wide. Is he getting a corner? He's getting not. It's a goal kick. He thought it came off Bella-Kotchap. Michael Salisbury's given Leicester a free kick, and this is dangerous. Curling it away.
I'm worried about the wall here, Adam. I'm really worried about the wall.
He's got a 3-man wall in front of him, about 3 or 4 yards inside the box, and he does go for that near post. And Joe Teston was worried, and he was right to be worried, because Maddison has scored against Saints again. Right, here it comes again. Once more looking for Bella-Kotchap. Back to Adams, and it's fantastic, and it's a goal, and it was almost like a training ground routine. And Che Adams scores in Leicester. He's home city. And Saints will try and break, and Adams with a great ball. Aribo has Armstrong to his left. Armstrong and Aribo now trying to bear down on the penalty area. Blue shirts flood back. Armstrong finds Aribo. Oh, is he going to get done for diving? He got the ball past Danny Ward. Ward's complaining. Aribo's going in the book here. and it's switched out to the right by Elyounoussi. Walker-Peters going to attack Justin again on the edge of the box. He got support from his captain. First time cross, brilliant volley. Adams has two, Saints has two, and the Leicester boy damages Leicester with a brace. Che Adams will chase, the ball's gone back, Armstrong will pick it up, it wasn't a great back pass, Saints might get a third, deep in the game, he might get a hat-trick, he's hit the post! Oh, Che Adams in Leicester nearly had a Premier League hat-trick, and Southampton have their first win of the new Premier League season.
There we go, highlights of last weekend's 2-1 win against Leicester. Now, Joe, we did see Sekou Mara have the ball in the back of the net before the offside flag went up. But what did you make of his first start for Southampton?
Steve, he worked really hard, but I think it was a tough task for him playing up top on his own. He was quite isolated in the first half when Southampton really struggled to keep hold of the ball and gave it away a lot. So he was on his own at the top end of the pitch for a lot of the game, but as you said, did show flashes of his potential with that lovely run, with that quick ball in behind, and he finished well. But we're seeing here he can stretch the defence as well, so he has that ability to do that. So you can see it here. I mean, great little run, just mistimed it slightly. Maybe he was hoping for the ball to be played through a bit quicker. Great clinical edge, and I think it's only a matter of time before he gets his first Saints goal. But for me, I'd love to see him play up top with someone else. With Che Adams, maybe start in a 2 up top. I think he worked really well, playing off the shoulder of another striker, getting in behind like we're seeing here. And he's shown he can do that on his own. And in a tough game away from home where Saints didn't have a lot of the ball, he still got in some very, very promising positions. So, Steve, like a lot of these young Saints players that they bought over the summer, there's a lot of potential there. The upside is huge. I think Mara's just at the very start of his career, and it's been promising. There's flashes there. He's still getting used to playing in the team. But yeah, very decent first start.
Well, we saw a well-worked throw-in as well in the game for Che Adams' equaliser, a chest down from Bella Kotchap. Dean, do you want to talk us through this one?
Well, it's surprising because it's centre-half to centre-half. Salah suits Bella Kotchap for the move. It looks like it's been worked on the training ground. There's lots of individual bits from it. It's a brilliant finish from Che Adams. But it's Djenepo's movement to start with that takes the Leicester player out of the way. Then it's the strength of Che Adams to stay in front of Ndidi. And then it's the movement and the spin. But also, none of this happens unless the touch from Bella Kotchap. I mean, it's fantastic. It really is. Right into the path of Che Adams. And Shea's movement is fantastic. And then his composure. You know, there he could think, I need to drive this with my laces. I need to try and hit this through the bodies. But he just places it along the ground. And it's a fantastic finish. It really, really is. And Che has this quality. You know, he just takes that extra touch, that deep breath, and just puts it into the corner. And it's a fantastic finish. But the touch is superb. It really is. And we've been waiting from Salah-Su's long throws. We've not really seen many opportunities or many goals. So I'm sure they've worked on it in the training ground. But it was great to see Che score that goal. He made a huge impact when he came on. He got 2 goals. He hit the post and could have got a hat-trick. So, yeah, really, really pleased for him. But it's work on the training ground from, you know, the new coaches that are at the club. They've come in. You can see the work that's going in. But also the players within that area that stayed away to keep that area free for Che Adams. You know, players can get sucked in sometimes. So they were very disciplined. So you can see the work and the understanding and discipline from the whole group to be able to create a goal like that.
All right, we've got less than a minute until the team news is in, so we'll go to the comments first just to have a look and see what the Saints fans are saying today. Andrew B has said on Twitter that he's praying for a win in the chapel today. Also, Jocelyn says he thinks it's going to be 2-1 to Southampton today, up the Saints. We have Mark, who's following from Indonesia. He said up the Saints as well. Also, Senek Ali has said he's hoping for a 2-1 win. He thinks that Adams and Mara are going to score today. Jem says match day in the sunshine. It certainly is a glorious day here at St Mary's today. Also, Laura is saying Joe Aribo is going to score and assist today. And a final one from Harry Conroy says he thinks it's going to be 2-0 to Southampton this afternoon. But we can now bring you the team news, hot off the press as it comes in. It looks like Southampton will be sticking to that 4-3-3 formation. So the starting 11 is as follows. You have Gavin Bazunu in goal, Kyle Walker-Peters, Armel Bella-Kotchap, Salisu partners him at centre-back. We also have Musa Djenepo keeping his place at full-back. Romeo Lavia and James Ward-Prowse are in the middle alongside El Yunusi, and then the forward line is made up of Joe Aribo, Adam Armstrong, and indeed Shay Adams is there after scoring 4 goals in 2 games. And as for the substitutes, we've got Alex McCarthy, Jan Valery, Roman Perro is in there after coming back into training, Lianco, Jan Bednarek, Diallo, Romeu, also Stuart Armstrong and Sei Kumara make up the subs bench today. So let's come to you, Joe. What do you make of that?
Kind of what we expected, right? I think with the players who've had such a good impact coming off the bench, Shay Adams, Aribo, I like it. I like it, Steve. It's very positive. We weren't quite sure if it was going to be a bit more defence-minded, but it isn't. I'd say that suggests that Saints are going to go for it from the start and try and get at United, press them high, just like they struggled against Brentford to contain. So I think for Southampton, it really is about taking the game to United. I like the lineup. Solid back 4 right now. Good to see Perro back on the bench after his injury. So I think that helps, just having a bit of more options there. A lot of defensive options on the bench as well, which is interesting to see. I think Ralph maybe there is looking to go ahead early and then maybe shore things up, maybe a flip of what we've seen so far. But I like the team. I like El Yunusi midfield. I think there's good balance there. So, yeah, very happy with that, Steve.
Yeah, Dean, Joe mentioned defensive options on the bench, so a rather attacking lineup from Ralph, wanting to go maybe toe-to-toe with Erik ten Hag today.
Well, I think so. From the selection, it's an attacking team. It's brave. It shows that he has belief in his players and the belief that they can go out and cause Man United problems, which I think they will. I'm looking forward to it. If Southampton play with that intensity and that energy in how they finish the game against Leicester, then they will cause Man United problems because, like I mentioned, they've had a brilliant result, but they still are a little bit frail and vulnerable in this period of their transition at the football club. So I'm looking forward to it. But I think within that shape, they can almost sit as a 4-5-1 as well. So they can drop in. So there is that defensive discipline, that ability to sit in and kind of counter-attack on Manchester United. And it will be interesting as well, because if you look at United against Liverpool, they played a lot of counter-attacking football. They sat in themselves and used the pace on the counter-attack. Today, will they have a little bit more possession? Will Southampton sit in and try and counter-attack Manchester United? So a little bit of a chess match, but I'm sure the manager and the players have got a game plan and will go in with the right mentality and think, right, we can cause Manchester United problems today. And I'm looking forward to this game. I really am.
There we are indeed. Joe, I did want to ask you before we went to team news about Shay Adams, obviously scoring that acrobatic winner against Leicester. He starts today. How impressed were you with him last week? And what kind of problems do you think he's going to cause Manchester United today?
Steve, very impressed. I mean, what an amazing impact. He totally bullied Leicester's defence. And we heard from Ralph ahead of the Leicester game. He hadn't been training much that week due to a knock, so didn't start. But then when he came on, he was just holding the ball up, giving Saints a focal point. And his movement on the goal is excellent. It's so similar to some of his other goals. When Ward-Prowse or Walker-Peters get on the ball out on the right, he seems to know those little gaps to find, where to attack. He drifts off the shoulder of the deepest centre-back. Clever movement, really, because the right-back doesn't know whether to mark him or pass him on. And then by the time they try to figure it out, Shay Adams has smashed it acrobatically into the back of the net. So Dean and I are huge fans of Shay Adams. I think he's at his best when he is playing with someone else up top there. So I think it's important that Saints get Adam Armstrong off the left and Aribo on the right and El Yunusi behind, as close to him as possible to link up with him. And I think that's how he will really cause United problems, because we saw Varane and Lisandro Martinez very physical, very aggressive against Liverpool in the week. Shay Adams can hold his own in that regard. He's a very physical player. So they'll try to step up. And I think if he can flick the ball off to runners in behind, he can combine with them and it will go really well for him today. So he's in great form. And it's great to see the manager come out this week and saying he's definitely staying at the club. There's been a lot of reports about other teams being interested, but he's just showed this week how important he is to Saints, and I want to see someone up alongside him to help him with that load, play off him, and then I think he'll go from strength to strength this season.
Indeed, Shea is here to stay. Dean, Djenepo keeps his place at left back after an impressive performance against Leicester. How do you think he's been adapting, or how do you feel he's been adapting to his new role?
You have to give him so much credit, Steve, because it's really unnatural for him. I think he's done fantastic. He was playing there pre-season. He's been picked for every game so far this season and played very, very well, either as a wing back or a more traditional left back that we saw against Leicester. Defensively, he looks switched on, so it looks like his concentration levels have gone up. Positionally, he looks good. He's always used his body very, very well, but that's usually in attacking situations. But now he's using it defensively as well. So there's some intelligence there as well. But also, I like the fact that he can come in onto his right foot as well. So he doesn't have to go on the outside. So he has that little bit of unpredictability in that position, as we see from the assist he gets against Tottenham. If he meant this pass, it's probably the pass of the season. It's unbelievable to James Ward-Prowse. But I like his direct approach as well in those attacking positions. So when Southampton get into those areas, they've got almost an extra winger. But again, I talk about that intelligence. Every time he's getting the ball, he's not thinking, I've got to take one on, I've got to take two on, I've got to throw a step over. He will check back sometimes, he will keep possession, but also when he doesn't get in those one-on-one situations, he'll trust himself. He'll have that little bit of creativity to try and get an assist, to try and get across. We question his final ball sometimes, but I think he's been excellent. He really, really has. And it's great to see him get a run in the team because physically, he looks in really good condition. And I think that's coming from the minutes he's getting in the first team. The manager has always had confidence in him. The manager's always seemed to try and find a way to get Djenepo into the team. And maybe this is his position because he's been excellent. He really has.
Focus in a little bit more on today's opponents. Let's hear what you, the Saints fans, are having to say online. We have Clive Hancock, who says we can do this today, with a thumbs up emoji, very positive. Also Harry Conroy's already said that 2-0 to the Saints today. Ryan Ackland, Shea Adams to score again. He thinks he's going to continue his goal scoring form. Alex Westwood says looking forward to seeing the team play. We're starting to gel as a young team, and he thinks the Saints will win 2-1. And then also that Saints girl said a solid lineup. Do me proud, boys. Joe, the last time we played Manchester United was back in February, a 1-1 draw. What do you remember from that game?
Steve, I remember this was right in the middle of Saints' purple patch of the season, right? It was they're flying high. They just beat Spurs 3-2 a few days before it. Middle of a 5-game unbeaten run with that win against Spurs, drew against City and United. The FA Cup run was going. So Saints were in full flow, as we're seeing here. Obviously, United took the lead in the first half through Sancho, but Saints created a lot of chances in this game. And Brozier and Adams dragged their defence all over the place, caused them so many problems. And it was really positive. I think, we're seeing Saints have played quite well against United, especially last season, and seem to be giving them a lot of issues with the high press. And yeah, Saints maybe can feel they didn't quite take all their chances on this day to really get what they deserved. But, as we're sort of seeing these chances go on and on and on, it tells a story of the game. It was a very open, entertaining game. And then Shea Adams, obviously, with a fine finish and a great little link-up play there with Elyounoussi. Hopefully we see some of that today as well. And Adams obviously scored home and away against United last season. I know the home goal went down as an own goal, but that wasn't really an own goal, was it? Let's be honest. So, yeah, I think Saints, it's just a matchup that matches very well. Draw was probably a fair result against United last time out. But as I mentioned, I think high pressing in a bit more of a controlled manner today will really cause United difficulties. And we saw that against Brentford. They can't handle that. It was a very different game against Liverpool for large parts. And Dean mentioned it earlier. I don't know if United right now are safe enough on the counter to defend teams that are going to sit back against them, let them have the ball. I just don't think that their defence could be trusted right now. So there's somewhere for Saints to get in there. And I think they showed a blueprint in the last game, how they can get in behind and create all these chances.
Dean, we also drew against Manchester United in our first home game of last season. But what does Southampton have to do today to pick up all 3 points?
I think when you're always playing against one of the bigger the teams, and a team like Manchester United, you need some luck. You definitely need some luck. You need defensively to be strong. You need the defenders to play well. Your goalkeepers at times is going to have to make some saves because the bigger clubs generally create opportunities. But also that belief that it's possible within the group, that you can take on the bigger boys, that you can match yourself up against the top players in the world. And, you know, like I say, that they maybe need to have a little bit of an off day, but if you stick together, you work really, really hard, you stick to a game plan, you work for each other, there's a good mentality within the group. You know, Southampton can win this game. They can cause Manchester United problems. And when you get the opportunities, you generally need to take them because they will be limited. There won't be 5-6 chances probably for Southampton today. There'll be 1 or 2. We're seeing a really good example of Adam Armstrong getting that opportunity. I think that was at 1-1 at that time, could have made it 2-1. And that would have been a brilliant result. Again, from set pieces, Southampton can cause teams problems. Adam Armstrong coming at the back post, if he'd maybe just had a little bit more belief in himself to actually go for goal, you could say he's been a little bit unselfish there. But I think it's almost that feeling within yourself, individually and as a group, that we can beat these teams today. We're playing at home. We can take this game to them. We can cause them problems. But you'll need your keeper to make a couple of saves, and you need to be ruthless when you get those opportunities. They're the major 2 factors, I believe, when you're playing the bigger teams in the Premier League.
Now, Joe, you were lucky enough to be at Old Trafford on Monday night when Manchester United picked up a bit of a shock result, I'd say, against Liverpool, winning that game. What did you make of them on that night?
Yeah, Steve, I was up there in my role of NBC, sat in the press box, and there was just shock all the way around from the fans right next to the press box. I think from the United players and the staff as well. They're really surprised by that. I think the main takeaway was it was from the ridiculous to the sublime, right? From the defeat at Brentford, then to how they played against Liverpool and how the difference in attitude, application, the grit was incredible. I mean, the running stats alone, you look at that against Liverpool, it ran something like 20 kilometers more as a team against Liverpool than they did against Brentford. So it shows you that it's easy to get up for one of those big games, perhaps. And let's see if they can do it again back to back. But what I really liked was that United forced Liverpool to play a game they didn't want to play. From the very start, Lisandro Martinez was rattling into tackles, so was Dalot, Malacia, and really unnerved Liverpool and played just a physical style that we didn't really know this United side could play under Erik ten Hag. So defensively, they were much better. As I said, Martinez, Varane, very aggressive, stepping up high. Malacia and Dalot were doing exactly the same at fullback. And then they played more direct, Steve. The press from the front. I mean, Ronaldo is a legend. We all know that, but he just doesn't fit into the way that Erik ten Hag wants to play with that fluid front three, the system. Rashford, Sancho and Elanga are starting today. They were excellent in setting that tone again early and then getting the goal when they did. Obviously not having Anthony Martial, who played well in the second half. He's out through an injury, so that's a big blow for them today. But I think the big question all United fans have now, was that a one-off, right? There was United fans sat around me and they were just scratching their heads like, why can't we play like this every week? And they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. They really, really are. I mean, can United today cope with having more of the ball, more pressure on them really to do something? Everyone expects them to win against Southampton today. And I think they could leave themselves a bit exposed on the counter if Saints do let them have the ball, be higher up the pitch. Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen, can Saints target them and get in behind them quickly? And like Saints, it's similar issues for United. I mean, they haven't secured back-to-back wins in the Premier League since February, which is pretty incredible to think about. Very inconsistent. So, Dean and I were chatting about this before. We really don't know what's going to happen from each team game to game and from half to half within games right now. Still a lot of inconsistency with United, with this new manager, new system, and with Saints with so many new players and young players as well. So I think United, Steve, they're expected to win. They're expected to build off that massive, massive victory at Old Trafford under the lights, a great atmosphere. But it hasn't always been that easy, as I'm sure you know, for United over the last few seasons.
I mean, given that expectation, it hasn't been an easy start for Erik ten Hag at United, Dean. We mentioned the opening day loss against your old side Brighton, and then a rather humiliating defeat against Brentford before the Liverpool win. What have you made of Erik's introduction to the Premier League so far?
I think he's been composed. I think he's been level-headed in his approach. I think he's shown that he's not afraid to make big decisions on his terms. People probably would have questioned and expected him to make those decisions earlier on in his career at Manchester United manager. But I think he's taken his time and done it on his terms. But also, I think he would have now understood the intensity of the Premier League. There's no weeks off. You look at the results against Brighton and Brentford. You no games off. You have to be at full throttle every game. You have to be at your best every game in the Premier League. And he would have learned a lot about his players as well. So I think he's actually held it together well. It looks like he demands maximum effort in training and games. He looks like a disciplined coach, but doesn't look like he gets too high or too low. He kind of analyzes the situation, takes his time to consider it, but it looks like he backs his players. And there's a quiet, passionate manager there. I think that behind the scenes is very, very demanding. As we saw the stories that he got the players in on a Sunday. I even heard that he mentioned to the players, like, I'm part of this as well. So if you're running, I'm going to run as well. So he's part of it, and he's showing that. So he's leading. So given time, I think he could do okay. But it will be a testing and trying first period as Man United manager, which I think he's finding out. But it was a brilliant result against Liverpool. But I hope they have another off day today against Southampton.
Right, gentlemen, we're almost ready to wrap things up, but it is that all-important time to get your final thoughts and score predictions. So, Joe, we'll come to you first.
You know what, Steve? I was going to go for a draw, but I'm feeling really positive with the team news, really positive just chatting with you two. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Southampton and going to keep the good form rolling. All
right, 2-1 win. And Dean, what are you saying for today?
I'm feeling positive, but I'm maybe a tiny little bit more realistic. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw today against Manchester United. I think there will be chances and opportunities, and I think it's whether Southampton can find that balance between saying discipline defensively and then allowing themselves to play with that freedom when they get the opportunities to attack and cause Man United problems. So I think there'll be goals, so I'll go for a 2-2 draw.
Great stuff. Well, gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today on Saints Live. We'll see you after the game. Just 45 minutes to go until kick-off here at St Mary's as Ralph Saints hope to wreck a resurgent Red Devils in a glorious day in the Premier League. Make sure to join us after the game on the final whistle, where Dean and Joe will join me again for their expert analysis. Enjoy the match, and we'll see you then.